We know now that new wars are being waged, and they're far from the battle zone. That's right, they're right here within the borders of our country. Cyber wars. The question is, are you ready for a cyber war if it happens? So while checking my email and reading some news, I see this article.
Patrick, when you come home today, you need to bring that generator back here from the warehouse.
Why?
Because I said so.
China's cyber army is invading critical U.S. services. The Chinese military is ramping up its ability to disrupt key American infrastructure, including power and water utilities, as well as communication and transportation systems, according to U.S. officials. Among the victims are a water utility in Hawaii, a major West Coast port, and at least one oil and gas pipeline. People familiar with the incident told the Washington Post. So, you may or may not be aware of the amount of cyber attacks that are happening here in our country. And if we have a nationwide attack, are you ready? Am I ready?
Is hacking into our infrastructure a preparation for war?
I think that it is a preparation for war.
You know, in the past, when you talked about prepping, people looked at you like you were crazy or paranoid. But let me be clear. I'm not crazy and I'm not paranoid. I just pay close attention. And today, more and more people are starting to pay attention. So you can't call us all crazy. Let me head back to my office. So if you missed it, on December 11th, there was an article posted in the Washington Post, and it has been discovered that China has hacked into some of our major municipalities here in the United States. That's right, water utility plant in Hawaii, a major West Coast port, and at least one oil and gas refinery. Hackers also attempted to break into the electrical grid in Texas. U.S. officials said that Hawaii is home to our Pacific Fleet and at least one port which houses a logistical center. And this hack suggests that the Chinese military wants the ability to complicate U.S. efforts to ship troops and equipment in the region if we were to have a conflict with Taiwan. So let's talk about our electrical grid. The American Society of Civil Engineers gave the U.S. energy system a C- grade on its 2021 infrastructure report card. In 2021, an assessment from the Office of National Intelligence stated that Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea have the ability to cause harm to our electrical grid. And if you didn't know, much of the U.S. electric grid was built in the 1960s and 1970s. Currently, over 70% of the U.S. electricity grid is more than 25 years old, according to the White House. Now, I'm sure you're aware that cyber attacks, hackers, they're nothing new. They can affect financial institutions, municipalities. Ransomware can affect your personal computer, hold your files hostage, and even steal your personal information. We're all aware of that. But what happens if we have a national cyber attack, one that affects the entire country, and it plunges us into complete darkness? You know, cut off all of our electricity, bring the supply chain to a screeching halt. As much as technology can improve the quality of our life, it can also be a complete disaster for our lives if it gets cut off. The chances of a national cyber attack increase with each passing day. In this video, I'm going to expose the vulnerabilities that we have and how it will affect you and how you might prepare your home. Let's do a little review, because I do want you to understand that this is not hyperbole. We have a lot going on right now. The US is not making a lot of friends right now. We have Iran attacking us and our bases and our ships via their proxies. We've got the Ukraine war going on. We've got Russia teaming up with China. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. And I say stuff because I have advertisers. Not a single bullet needs to be fired to bring a country down to its knees. All it needs to happen is for our electrical grid to be turned off, and everything would spiral out of control from there.
The level of China's intrusion here and their intent is deeply worrying.
And yeah, it's becoming more and more apparent to us that China is preparing to launch some kind of an all-out cyber attack.
The White House has urged private sector businesses to bolster their cybersecurity defenses, and even Americans at home are being warned to stay on alert.
Customers complain of widespread disruptions in the banking system. People are having problems accessing their bank accounts. ATMs and debit machines are not working, causing chaos at many stores around the country. The trading day on Wall Street has been halted as authorities try to assess the damage of these attacks and restore the impacted systems. And rumors are starting to spread that this is a coordinated attack by another country. The threat of panic buying is already in the air. Police departments around the country are being hit with massive malware attacks corrupting their databases. Many water treatment facilities around the country are reporting that hackers are commandeering their systems and wreaking havoc on these systems by doing things like adjusting the level of chemicals used to treat the water, making the water toxic to drink. The final nail in the coffin comes when many electrical grids around the world have been taken offline, their IT infrastructure destroyed, disabling some systems and causing some nuclear facilities to even go into meltdown.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
Well, hopefully after watching that, I've got your attention now. And I've been thinking about it. What am I going to do? I live in the city. There's only so much that I can do to prepare for freaking apocalypse. Because the sad truth is, that is exactly what it would be. Now, if you're like many people out there, even talking about this, people may think you're overreacting. I have some people in my family like that. You probably do too. You may have some that will agree, but drag their feet and pretty much do nothing about it. For me, it's just peace of mind. If I know I can survive in my house with no electricity and no running water for at least 6 months, I'm gonna be okay. It's peace of mind. Because nobody wants to be SOL on day one of the apocalypse. So let's talk about the unflattering details of exactly what's gonna happen at your house if this actually happens. So first things, everything in your refrigerator is going to spoil within 48 hours. All of it. Everything in your freezer, everything in your refrigerator. So maybe we should talk about some ways that you can buy yourself a day, maybe 2. So here in Florida, we prepare for hurricanes. So this drill is going to be somewhat similar. If you don't live in Florida, well, you need to prepare like it's a major weather event where you will be without electricity for a long, long time, an extended period of time. 3 months or more. Without a generator, of course your food is going to spoil. But here's a small hack for you. Block ice. I keep block ice in my refrigerator all the time. And you should too. Take empty jugs. Take 1-gallon jugs or half-gallon jugs, empty milk jugs. Fill them with water, put them in your freezer. Have many of those, because if the electricity goes out, it's going to extend the life of what's in your freezer. You can also take them out of your freezer and put one of the jugs in the refrigerator to keep that section cold. You're not going to want to open the refrigerator door very often. It may buy you another day. And of course, when it melts, you can use the water in that jug for drinking water or food preparation. Now, if you can, buy a generator. It'll help you keep that food in your refrigerator longer. You might get a week out of it. That, of course, depends on how much gas you have at your house. Now remember, without electricity, you can't go to the gas station and pump gas. You're going to need to keep this gas at your house. And then depending on what you live in will vary as to how much gas you can store. You live in a condo, that's the problem. You live in an apartment, that's the problem. Maybe you could keep a 5-gallon container of gas. That's not going to run a generator for very long. If you live in a house, you could keep 30, 40 gallons of gas if you have enough containers. Or if you could have a barrel of gas. Not everybody can do this, but without the gas, you can't run the generator. Unless, of course, you get a solar generator. Now, mind you, the generator is going to be solely to keep your food from spoiling, because food's going to be a real problem. There are lots of solar generators out there. The cheaper ones aren't worth it. You'll need to spend some money, and you are solely using that generator to keep your food refrigerated. Just think what you would do if you had no power for 3 months. Think of it that way. What would you do? Ask yourself that question. Hopefully the authorities can get the power back up online, but you just don't know. So I'm just gonna assume that most of the people watching this aren't gonna get a generator, and you know who you are. So everything in your refrigerator is going to spoil. It's gonna stink really, really bad. So you need to have lots of non-perishable food in your house. Lots of canned foods and any type of food that can be prepared with just water or boiling water. You could get dehydrated food. There's plenty of that on the market now. Most of those will last 10 or 15 years. That's the type of stuff you need to have in your house. Water. You're gonna need lots of water. You need it to drink and you need it to prepare food. And you're probably gonna need some water to flush your toilet, because that's gonna stop working too. Now, if we're skimping, 32 ounces of water per person per day. But don't forget, you may have to cook some food. So, best rule of thumb is a gallon of water per person per day. Here's another hack for you. If you live in a house, or even if you don't live in a house, trash can. Water runoff off of your roof. You can get lots of water if it rains. I once left a trash can on the side of my house. The whole thing got full. There must have been 70 gallons of water in there. Batteries. You're gonna need a lot of batteries. Have a lot of different varieties. Stock up on them. There's no electricity. Batteries will be a hot commodity. Flashlights. Working flashlights. Also something you'll need to have. Have plenty of them in your house. And they even make one kind that can be operated by spinning a handle that doesn't need batteries. There may even be some solar battery operated flashlights. I would have regular and some of the others in case you run out of batteries. Lighters, gonna need those. You may have to light some candles. You may have to light a fire to stay warm. Fireplace. You may have to light a fire to cook a meal. Fire is good. FYI, you can buy lighters in bulk on Amazon. You can buy batteries in bulk on Amazon. I've done both. Fire starters, those are important because you may not have an opportunity to find a bunch of kindling around. Maybe you live in a condo. So, having some fire starters will help you start a fire with whatever you can find. Because you never know, you may be forced to create a fire and cook your meal on that. Now, you live in an apartment, you live in a condo, maybe that's a little more difficult. You'll have to go outside, of course. Sterno cans, plenty of Sterno cans. You can prepare meals on a Sterno can from the comfort of your apartment or condo. Toilet paper. I don't think I really need to expand on that very much. Popular item during the labdemic, but you're gonna need toilet paper, and you're probably gonna need wet wipes. Yes, wet wipes. Put that on the list too. You probably forgot about this one, but bug spray. No electricity, no AC. If we were to have an outage during the summer, you'll be spending a lot more time outdoors. Bug spray is important. Propane. Now, depending on whether you live in a single family home or whether you live in a condo, you're gonna need some propane. Now, in a condo, they make the little tiny canisters. Hopefully you have a little grill you can hook the propane up to so you can prepare food. You live in a house, you can have 5-gallon tanks, 10-gallon tanks, as many as you can keep on hand. Have them. Heavy-duty trash bags. Now remember, there's no trash pickup during the apocalypse, and there's also no flushing toilets. So trash bags can come very, very handy. And of course, without saying, self-care products. You know, toothpaste, soap, hand sanitizer. Your medication, you should probably always have at least 3 months worth of prescription medication if you need it. Pain relievers, stock up on those as well. And even without a cyber attack, most of those items are made in China, and they can cut us off at any time. So you should always be well stocked when it comes to those items. Bleach, gonna need some bleach. Not just for sterilizing things, but you can also purify water with bleach. And you should probably have a really good knife, a nice, sharp, very sturdy knife. One, you may need it to skin an animal you may have to eat. Not kidding, but maybe you need it for protection. Always have some good cutlery in your home. And speaking of protecting yourself, the ugly truth is, if we were to end up in this very unfortunate situation, things will go sideways quite quickly. It's gonna be bad for everybody, and people are gonna start coming after what you have. So, if you save a year's worth of food and water at your house, don't tell anybody. Mum's the word. People are gonna start coming after what you have if they know you have it and they don't. So, having a firearm at home and having plenty of ammunition is probably a good idea. It's a personal decision, but you should take it very seriously because no one is coming to save you. No one. So I'm curious to know how many of you have thought about this. Doesn't even have to be a cyber attack. Our borders are wide open. In this country, anything can happen right now. I'm just curious if this has crossed your mind. Me, personally, I need to do a better job. I've prepared some. You know, we live here in Florida, so we're always stocked up on some of these items. I just need to add a few more things so that I can feel comfortable if we were to have an emergency. My suggestion to you is just start, and each month add a little bit more to what you have. Don't let it overwhelm you, but you should prepare for one of these events because there is a high probability this will happen to us someday. Just takes time to make the preparations. And speaking of time, I'd like to thank you for spending part of your day with me. Hopefully, you learned something. You found it at least informative. If you did, give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing because I would love to have you as part of my YouTube family, where I share information on current events, real estate, and life uncensored.
Is hacking into our infrastructure a preparation for war?
I think that it is a preparation for war. I think what China did in the past was more commercial type espionage. They were stealing our company's technology, intellectual property, etc. But now they've certainly escalated to a point where they are going after our defense systems, our critical infrastructure.
If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll like this next one. And thank you for being here.